Welcome back inside the Now Morning Show, and that's right, we are celebrating International Men's Day, which is actually this Sunday. But we don't have the show on Sunday, so we're going to celebrate this morning. And to do so, we've invited two male hosts to join me on set this morning in the form of DK Rosta and Mark Anthony. But this morning, we're specially talking to a gentleman who created a series called Manly Man. Mr. Alvin Brown joins us on set as well. Good morning to you, Mr. Brown.
Good morning, good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good.
Welcome back. I mean, and you've been here before, so at this
true.
point, you shouldn't even be nervous or nothing like that. We can have a conversation. But first of all, I want you to remind people why you saw the need to start Manly Man in the first place. As it's International Men's Day, I feel like it's important that the genesis of this come out.
All right, so I started it because I was teaching.
Right.
And at the time I was teaching in a high school, and I realized a lot of the young men there didn't have father figures. Because of that, there are a number of things that they didn't know. So a lot of them didn't know how to walk on the outside of the sidewalk with a young lady. We had a lot of issues when it comes on to if a teacher is passing, especially a female teacher is entering or coming through a door, they'll try and bore in front of them. And oftentimes we complain. But what I did is I actually started a series of animations, short animations, to talk about these topics, and I called it the Manly Man series. And then from there, I started doing interviews and more talks with different persons, etc. So that's the genesis of it.
And you've led to the interviews, you led to having conversations. Have you seen any sort of positive change in terms of the men that you've been working with, for example, in the school? I
have. I love seeing when I'm driving past and I see the young men on the outside. And sometimes, if they're not, I just slow down and it's, oh, sir, sorry. And I see them switching around. So I was like, yeah, I feel like something is happening.
And I know that, when you look at the series itself, a lot of effort would have gone into creating such a series. And cost. How was the cost shared in terms of, was this cost, borne by yourself?
I would say 98% of it was borne by me. It was done because I found a need, I prefer to try and do something about it now than to have that problem in my face in another iteration. Let's put it like that.
And I saw a number of other persons who have been involved with you. I saw Ryzen was there with you, another gentleman by the name of Peter Weller.
Yeah.
How did they also get involved with the series to assist you with this?
So the whole idea is to have a television series as well, where I interview persons in well-known individuals and persons who have a professional background. So in their case, I did a pilot for a show where we talk about how men deal with rejection. Murder-suicide is a huge thing. So the whole idea is so the short answer is they were part of the pilot. Yeah.
Also, but when you look at, in terms of the response that you've been getting, in terms of the general populace who've been giving you that feedback, and of course, encouragement is what will motivate you to keep on going.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you?
It's been good in terms of the encouragement, especially when you speak with parents who, let's say you identify a situation and you speak with them about it and you start to journey with them. When you hear how the son's behaviors have changed, and the caller or even the sons or a former student will message and say, hey, I really appreciate what you did, X, Y, Z. You're like, oh, all right.
Yeah.
That's.
Now, Alvin, you don't have a psychology background, right?
No.
You're doing this because you're a man that saw a need for young men to be able to get information that they don't seem to have.
Yeah.
The theme for this year for International Men's Day is reducing suicide. In your interactions with these young men, interactions with men in general, how often does suicide come up?
In terms of a conversation?
Yeah.
Actually, a little bit more often than you might think, because a man get on, whether he's in high school or he's in his 30s, it has an effect. That's the word I'm looking for. So the question is, how do we manage that emotional intelligence? How do we ensure that it doesn't get to that point? So the short answer is it happens more often than you think, because even teenagers, their world is social media. So they get bullied and they feel bad, and they believe they're unable to show their face in school, and they may start to think about what are the ways that I can remove myself from situations. So unfortunately, too many males think about it with too many generations. In fact, men are 4 times, according to CDC, 4 times more likely to commit suicide than women.
Oh. I know that, and from your accent also, that you're Jamaican.
That is correct.
And what you might have recognized in terms of the similar problems? Are they, is it a general problem across the board? Or when you compare Trinidad and Jamaica and the men that you may have interacted in terms of those who may be seeking help through this series that you're doing, is it specific or is it more in a general sense?
It's general, and oftentimes, unfortunately, society is not kind to men being weak. You know, we have to change the conversation where men can find safe spaces to say, hey, you know, I'm struggling. Because there's a saying, I think it was Chris Rock that said, the only persons that I love unconditionally are women and dogs. Yeah. You know, because, but for a man, you're viewed in society in a particular light.
Oftentimes it's based on what you can provide.
Based on what you can provide.
Yeah, in different forms, whatever that form may take, but it's oftentimes based on what you can provide. But how do we get society in a place where we can educate and make it so that being a man who's vulnerable doesn't make you weak?
We have to change how. I can't tell you where it can start. I can't.
That's all we can do. That's all we can do.
All right. So for me, the idea is to start changing the thinking of the younger generation. Yeah. Let them appreciate that, hey, life is hard. You're going to suffer. But try and build them up so that they will have a space to handle that emotional stress. And in handling that stress, they'll also be able to encourage those around them.
Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you're a father or not, or if you maybe have nephews, other siblings. How do you impart what you have learned and been showing others, and maybe to break it down to maybe a younger mind? Is there any difficulty in that you may face?
Well, to me, I don't, simply because I teach over 200 and something boys every year. One of the examples I give is when they're giving trouble and I get annoyed and I'm like, all right, gentlemen, like right now you're upsetting me. Yeah. But I'm going to show emotional intelligence and self-restraint and not do what I want to do. You know, for them to appreciate that, hey, when I tell them to, even if they're upset, there are things that need not to be done and there are things that need to be done. I give them that example, like, for instance, no, you're annoying me. Yeah. This is what I'd like to do. Instead, this is what I will do. So have them appreciate that, first of all, you're human. Yeah. You know, oftentimes you try and approach it as a case of, I am here and you should be perfect. No, everybody has issues, everybody has challenges. I'm annoyed with you right now. What I'd like to say, I will not say. Instead, I will say, be who you're supposed to be. Be the intelligent young man that you know, and I know, and your parents know that you are. I could have said something else.
Now, in the moments, I mean, I'm going to speak for me. I can't speak for anybody else, right? But I would say that as much as I might try to be as emotionally intelligent as I can be, there'd be moments in time when you do things that it may not be the best decision, right? So you might make let's call it a mistake. How important is it for adults, male adults, to apologize for those mistakes or those moments where they lose their emotional intelligence?
That's huge. That's huge. I mean, I've had to do it in my class already. I thought a young man had done something in particular, and I said, hey, you know, and I allowed him up in front of the class, and then found out that wasn't the case, and I, in front of the class, apologized, because it does something when they can say, hey, you know, this man apologized, this person apologized. I remember once when I was year high, and I would always be eating my private lesson money, always. And one day I lost it, and my mother thought I had eaten it, and I got punished. And when she realized, she found it when she was washing, she found the money, and I was like, so you're not going to apologize? And she looked at me and she apologized. To me, I thought that was normal, that adults apologize when they were wrong. Only to realize that that's not the case. So, you know, big up to my parents. They did a wonderful job.
But that just goes to show it starts from home, right? It starts from home and the examples that you receive at home. So I want to encourage each and every one of you out there to be the example of the change that you want to see. Alvin, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Thank you for the work that you've been doing. And happy International Men's Day. And thank you for celebrating.
Thank you for having me.
Not a problem. Ladies and gentlemen, we take a quick break and we come back with more. Before we get to that break, though, we're going to celebrate different men throughout the rest of the morning, and you get a chance to celebrate with us. Check out this one.